Because we have a man with a purpose here. We are very, very lucky to have with us Representative Peter Barca. He is, I'm just going to call him the leader in the Assembly. Some might add the word minority in the front, but no, we aren't going to. He is the leader in the Assembly. He is on our side. He is fighting every day. I do not know how he can go to work and get up and keep on trying, but he does. So without further ado, Representative Peter Barca.
Well, thank you, Ann, and great to be with all of you. And I know I've seen a number of you around the hotel the last 24 hours. Some to bar, right? Some to the lunchroom. Some just wandering the halls. So it's been hopefully a good conference from all of you. I'm getting good feedback that you're all glad to be here. And I guess you have until tomorrow at noon, so that's fantastic. And you're here at a very good time because, and a very important time, because obviously the governor has put forward his budget. And this is, as people have often said, by the time you're done passing a budget, 2/3 of the work of the legislature is done. And to some degree, that's unfortunate because so much policy is stuffed into what should be just a fiscal document. And what's bad about that is when they do bad things, it's harder to battle it in the budget. You know, there's 5 budget hearings, and you can go there, but obviously, budget hearings, you've got 100 people there, you stand in line, and people are talking about everything under the sun, from education to healthcare to roads to, senior and aging programs. So things get sort of lost at times in the shuffle. And that's why, I've long advocated that policy should come out of the budget and should be passed as separate bills. So it's brought forward in the light of day, so there's public hearings on each isolated change, so citizens can weigh in, offer their thoughts and ideas, and also so the press can cover it, so the broader public can be aware of what's actually being done. Because as you all know, over the course of the last 6 years, there have been so many harmful things done in this state, it's hard to even remember half of them, frankly. And things that normally you would think would be very significant changes, because of monumental changes, unthinkable changes in many cases, those things don't receive the kind of attention that they should. Now, growing up in Wisconsin, I've lived here virtually all my life, and with my last assignment before coming back to the legislature, I had the good fortune of traveling the globe. I traveled all over the world. We did projects for groups like USAID, the World Bank, trying to bring American technology and ideas forward in other countries, such as occupational safety and health, environmental kinds of changes, trying to harmonize things across the globe. And I was always so proud to say that I was from Wisconsin, because Wisconsin has always been a state rich in tradition and values, a state that believed in all of those things that we hold dear. Quality education, which we've always thought is kind of the great equalizer. Giving people a fair shake in life, a pristine environment to protect our hunting and sporting heritage, having clean, open, and transparent government. And growing up on the border of Illinois, that was especially always important because over the years I've seen 3 governors in a row indicted, 2 of them are still in prison. I don't know if they're cellmates or not, but they have a terrible reputation, and we never used to have that kind of reputation. Unfortunately, since being back in the legislature, especially under our governor's leadership, we've seen all of that up for grabs. We've seen where our forebears, I think of my father who came to this country from overseas as an immigrant himself that invested heavily in education so we could have one of the best university systems, not only in the country but in the world. That's being diminished. K-12 education so that our children can be competitive and can have that kind of strong start in life. That's been diminished. Environmental things such as clean water and other kinds of efforts have been diminished. Tax fairness, which is something that was always an article of faith, going back to fighting Bob LaFollette, we've seen in the last 6 years people that make over $500,000 getting 69 times greater tax breaks than those average people that work for about 50 grand a year, which is the average wage, which is so unfortunate because it hurts the economy. But even worse than that, we've seen people that work for $9, $10 an hour actually have their taxes raised as they cut back on the earned income tax credit, which is just outrageous. And we've seen senior and programs for disabled be up for grabs. And so it's been a very tough road that we've held. Now we have this governor's budget, and there's some good news and some bad news. So many people have dubbed it an election budget. The governor's always running for something. And so he's up for election in 2 years. His approval numbers have been way underwater. And so he knows in order to get reelected, he has to kind of come forward with something a little bit different than he's had in the past, so we can all think, oh, maybe he's changed his stripes. Maybe he actually believes in education now. Maybe he doesn't want to take away benefits from senior citizens. Maybe he isn't going to keep doing the kind of harm that we've seen in our environment over the course of his 6 years. But unfortunately, I'm here to say that it is strictly an election year budget. And the good news is, at least we're not battling this time. I lost my mother about 1.5 years ago. And she became very sick on Christmas Eve, went into the hospital, and almost died. But, if it wouldn't have been for our aging and disability resource centers in our county, even for myself, and I have a lot of staff people, I know a lot of these programs, but it really took them to help to guide us, to give her the kind of help she needed, to get her in the nursing home, then to get her home care, and so she could have another 9 months of, a very positive, quality of life. And that was a very important period for our family. But the governor wanted to do away with that. He tried to eliminate the Aging and Disability Resource Center. But at least we're not battling this time. He tried to do away with family care, which is important, and the IRIS program for people with disabilities and senior citizens. He tried to do with senior care, where people can get prescription drugs. So he's not doing that this time, fortunately. However, just 2 days ago, his Secretary of Health testified and said, well, we're not trying this time to get rid of senior care, but we can't guarantee that in future budgets we're going to keep that. And you know what? That, to me, was one of the most telling articles of testimony that we had the last 4 days as agency heads came forward. Because it reinforced to me what this is all about. Him trying to not have people as worried. His approval numbers have gone up a little bit, still a little water. He's at about 45% approval, 48% disapproval, but hoping that people will be lulled into thinking, boy, maybe it's not so bad after all. But I know all of you that work in the communities, that work so hard, both in your labor unions and with people throughout the community, understand what's been done the last 6 years. Never in my wildest dreams, growing up in Wisconsin, knowing the LaFollette progressive era, would I have thought I would live in a right-to-work state. Never would I think that this state would abandon the working people that made this state so strong. And I have the fortune, I give a lot of speeches, and whether I speak to a very conservative group, whether I speak to a very progressive group, I always bring up one factor, and I challenge people. I say, now just tell me if you disagree, if you think I'm wrong about this. But what I believe made America, and made Wisconsin in particular, the economic envy of the world, was having a strong, vibrant middle class. I said, raise your hand if you disagree with that. I've never seen a hand go up. I've never seen a person disagree with that. And yet, this administration, time after time, has worked assiduously and continuously to bring down the wages of ordinary Wisconsinites. It started with Act 10 in his second month in office, and he succeeded. He brought down the take-home pay of teachers, county nurses, snowplow drivers, and every public employee. In fact, on average, that cost people about $4,000 to $6,000 out of their pocket, that effort alone. But even worse than that, taking away people's ability to even bargain, so that in the future, you would continue to suppress those wages. And it's worked. It's worked. Then he made us a right-to-work state. Now, we know on average, people that live in right-to-work states make about $6,000 less than people who live in states like Wisconsin used to be. And you know what? It worked again. Last budget, he attacked. And ironically, his whole argument is, well, we'll save money for transportation projects. if we just lower wages. But the irony is the Nonpartisan Fiscal Bureau in Minnesota, their legislative council did an exhaustive study and found, in fact, that doesn't work that way. You don't actually save money on projects. Because when you have well-trained employees like we have here in Wisconsin, and we have the building trades people who take 75 cents for every hour they work and put it into training, that's why we're 43% more efficient in doing projects. And that's why it's done right the first time here in Wisconsin. So it's short-sighted. It's short-sighted, it's hurting our economy, and that's why we have, according to Pew's latest study, the most diminished middle class in the entire country. Let me repeat that again. According to Pew's last study, we have here in Wisconsin the most diminished middle class in the entire country. Raise your hand if you think that's a good thing. It's an absolutely awful thing. And you know, it hurts our state enormously. And that's not the only metric, though. We're dead last in entrepreneurship because we don't have the kind of projects and programs to help support people, to bring forward new ideas. You have a lot of kids that, coming out of technical college and university, they have ideas, dreams. And we don't have the support system here in Wisconsin, unfortunately. You have people that have worked all their life that come up with a new innovation that they start off in their garage and they want to bring to market. But in Wisconsin, we're dead last in supporting people. We have the third highest student debt in the entire nation. But the governor won't go along with the most simple reform of all, which is let's let people refinance their debt. Our neighbors in Minnesota do that. Many other states do that. But our governor says, no, we're not going to do that here in Wisconsin. These are the kinds of things that we're trying to bring forward in this budget. U.S. News and World Report, just 2 weeks ago, came out with their study. We have the second worst roads in the entire nation. Now, we didn't need them to tell us that because U.S. Department of Transportation, they told us last year we had the third worst roads. So I don't know if we have the second worst roads or the third worst roads, but I know it's not a good thing for our future. As a state that's dependent on, manufacturing, where you have to bring goods to markets, tourism, where people have to traverse the state to enjoy our lakes and streams and natural beauty of our great state. It's a terrible thing. And he said repeatedly, including a la Donald Trump at 1 in the morning the other night, tweeting out that he intends to not do anything about that. That in fact he kind of dared the Finance Committee to put forward a sustainable transportation fund, and he said he'd veto it. So this is the kind of leadership that we're confronting. Now you can hear some of the good news. In education, he finally has invested some money. So take the university budget, for instance. This will illustrate best. One of my colleagues, Senator Lena Taylor, came up with this, which I thought was pretty clever. He took $250 million out of the university system the last 2 years. 4 years early, he took the same amount of money. And now he's putting $40 million back in. So her question was, if I borrow $250 from you, I give you $40 back and say, boy, you got a good deal. I hope you're happy. That's what's going on. Same thing in education. He's putting more money in now, thankfully, but it comes nowhere near the $1 billion he took out of K-12 public schools. And last session, they passed a provision to take $800 million and siphon it off to unaccountable voucher schools over the next 10 years. Now, it used to at least be that there would be a separate budget for that. Now it comes directly out of the bottom line of public schools. Why is he doing that? To me, it's very clear because he wants to reduce wages further of people that work in public education. Because that has been his MO ever since he's been in office. So we have our hands full, and I didn't come here to depress you because it's a little better situation than we had before. We're not battling quite as many battles because he wants to get reelected. But the other good news I want to share with you is something that I'm sure you've read about, and that's the fact that the federal court ruled that our redistricting law that we had in this state is unconstitutional. Now, why is that important? It's important for a lot of reasons. First of all, the plaintiffs, let me start. First of all, Justice Kennedy, who's always been the swing vote in the Supreme Court, And whether Trump's nominee, Judge Gorsuch, is confirmed or not, Justice Kennedy will still be the swing vote on this issue. And he has said time and time again, he does not like partisan districting, but he wanted to find a rational basis for overturning it. And this decision took the plaintiff's attorneys and they put forward a mathematical model. And what they asserted is we have the most partisan maps in the entire country here in Wisconsin, based on this issue of spoiled votes, of packing Democrats into some areas and spreading them out widely in other areas so that you just couldn't have fair elections anymore. And you know what? With today's technology, you know, if I do the maps, I guarantee we have a 60 vote majority too. Now, should that happen? No. I think you should have a nonpartisan commission draw these maps, because I don't believe politicians should choose their voters. I think voters should choose who they want to represent them. But the reason why this is so harmful is because that is what's caused the kind of polarization that you see in today's society and in the legislature. And it's not just Wisconsin. This is affects states across the nation. But this decision, which was a very strong written decision by a Reagan appointee, incidentally, who disagreed and said that our maps were unconstitutional and put forward a model so that hopefully Justice Kennedy will find this acceptable. But this would help to end the polarization that we have. Because I'm told, as I travel the state, there are some legislators that, you know, if you're a Democrat, you write them a letter, they don't even answer your letter. Because they made their district 60% or greater Republican, so it doesn't matter what you think of them anymore. And to me, that is so distasteful, it is so wrong, it is such an abdication of your responsibilities. You know, I write back everybody. I don't care how conservative, how progressive, if they like me, if they dislike me, if they agree or disagree. You know, we work for you. You know, and we have that obligation to represent every citizen in our district. But these kind of maps are what's caused that. You know, even looking at the maps, I mean, you've got one map that goes from central Wisconsin, an assembly seat, down to western Wisconsin. It looks like an upside down L. It's just unbelievable. My district looks like a Nike switch. You know, I go from nearly like down at the lake in downtown Racine, through Kenosha County, out to the far southwest part of the county. Again, another map in my home area, Kenosha Racine, where they took a district, you had two Senate districts, one of them in the Racine area had gone back and forth the last 9 elections. It went from a Democratic Joel Stroll to a Republican George Petak to a Democrat Kim Flocky to a Republican Kathy Stepp to a Democrat John Lehman to a Republican Van Wanger. And you know, that's democracy. Now, as the Kenosha News and the Racine Journal-Times wrote, you might as well not vote in those state Senate seats after the primary because they're both over 60%, you know, of one party or the other. And in that district, they drew like a horseshoe around the two cities, and which is appropriate because all of this, I think, is horse shit, quite frankly. And it's just unbelievable. So we've got to overturn this, and if we do overturn this, it is an entirely new day here in Wisconsin. You know, either of the bodies or both could flip immediately. This will take effect for the 2018 election, so we're very enthused looking ahead to 2018 because we think that their prospects look very positive if, in fact, the Supreme Court votes as we expect them to vote and follow the Reagan appointee at the federal district level in a 3-judge panel. So let me end by saying that you know, for us, it's been a tough 6 years. We watched that last election, and we're just stunned at how many, you know, working class people, you know, did in fact support Donald Trump and the Trump way. It tells us we have to work that much harder, that much more aggressively to communicate better. And the state senate have actually worked together and put together one agenda. No more you have a state assembly, state senate agenda, and outlining what our values are, what our principles are, you know, and very straightforward ideas. You know, build an economy that works for everybody. Invest in our future and empower our citizens in our democracy. Strengthen our communities and families. We have a website here, wisconsindems.com. I ask you all to go take a look at that. Next couple weeks, there'll be links to various bills that match each one of these so you can get an idea. We've got a couple things there that sort of point to the area where we need changes. Equal work for equal pay. That was one of the first things that the governor eliminated when he took office. He took out the provision so that if you are a woman who on average makes 74 cents on the dollar or men, and you feel you've been treated unfairly, or you're a veteran, who also incidentally oftentimes make less, you no longer could take that to state court. He took that out of the statutes, if you can imagine. But that was one of the first things that he did. And now in this budget, he has a provision. So if you sue for employment discrimination, let's say you feel you've been discriminated against, now you not only, under many circumstances, if you don't prevail, you wouldn't have to just pay your own attorney, you have to pay the employer's attorney to discourage people from bringing forward those kinds of claims. Other things that have been done in this budget that you need to be aware of. For electricians, for plumbers, he's going to make it so you no longer have to take a test at the end of the apprenticeship. And those unions don't like that. And you know why they don't like it? Because they see it's the first step that he's taking to try and do away from any licensure whatsoever, so that opens the door, just like prevailing wage does, to allow low-cost people from out of state that are not trained and say that there no longer is any reason to go with Wisconsin contractors. That's why, sitting on his desk right now is a bill to eliminate project labor agreements. Now, these project labor agreements, which allows communities or the private sector in many cases to decide to use union labor to make sure the jobs come right the first time, he's eliminating the local control that if a mayor wants to exercise that, he or she can't do that anymore. It's just unbelievable. Lambeau Field, the new Northwestern Tower being built in Milwaukee, many facilities, the Hoover Dam, Disney World, were all built with project labor agreements. But he wants to prohibit local units of government from exercising that any longer. So that's why the middle class in this state has been beleaguered. That's why wages have come down. That's why we have the most diminished middle class, according to Pew's latest study. And that's why it's important that you do communicate in this budget, communicate with your legislators, stay activated. It's been exciting to me to see the kind of energy going on across the state with people not just rolling over, but standing up. And this latest health care change that they wanted to bring into effect would have really represented one thing. It would have given a $600 billion tax cut to those at the very top. It would have been like a golden parachute for those at the top and ripping apart the safety net for everybody else. And we all have a horse in this fight, and I'll tell you why. Because while certainly I think we all care about our fellow citizens, it's great to see 24 million more people have health care, equally important is the fact of not having lifetime limits. I have a colleague, Jimmy Anderson, who was in a terrible car accident, hit by a drunk driver, and he was just about to hit his lifetime limits. He didn't know what he would do to be able to continue to get the health care he needed to recover. But then, because of the Affordable Care Act, he was able to do that. This would do away with that. The other thing where we all have a horse in this fight is the idea of pre-existing conditions. So that we are all one serious car accident or one terrible diagnosis away from financial ruin and not being able to get coverage anymore. But don't fall prey to those that would try to trick you to say, well, this new bill will have that too. To some degree, it's true. It would have that. But no longer would you be guaranteed that at the same price. They could charge you whatever you want. How many people could afford it if they charge you $900 a month to get your health insurance for your pre-existing condition? I mean, virtually nobody, other than those that are the wealthiest. And that's what that would represent. Now, there's no question we need to make changes in the healthcare system. It's far from perfect. But the worst thing we can do is replace it with something that's a Trojan horse to just give tax breaks to those at the very top and jeopardize our children's security for pre-existing conditions and to not have lifetime limits anymore. Because any of us could be like my good colleague Jimmy Anderson and have a terrible car accident and not know where to turn. So it's very important that we stay activated, that we're communicating with people, and I know all of you are great at doing that. And the AFL, I know, has put together a wonderful summary of the budget. I think it's 6 or 7 pages. I don't know what the other day with, what?
14.
Oh, 15. A little bit more than I thought. Well, you got to read a little bit further. But they have highlights of the various sections, and they did a great job. I met with Phil and Stephanie the other day as we were trying to finalize this, and but I would really encourage you to read it. Now, if you don't have to read the total budget, which is 2,433 pages, just read that summary, and you'll get a pretty good idea of what the key issues are that we're confronting in this budget. So let me just end by saying I appreciate the good work that all of you do. I know you're not only active in your locals and your labor unions, I know you're active in your community and looking out for all the charitable kinds of programs that exist. So I salute each and every one of you for being involved, for staying active, and I think better days are ahead. And if that Reagan appointee's decision stands, I guarantee it's a new day in Wisconsin. Thank you all for your attention. Today with the Healthcare Alliance, the Hospital Association, the physicians, and others. They do not support it. Now, why don't they support it? Because in Wisconsin, we actually have a very vibrant health pool. We have a lot of healthcare providers, and the system works well. Now, there are some states that are self-insured. Don't point to them and say, Montana is self-insured. Well, Montana has 2 providers. It's a totally different ballgame. But the other thing I'll tell you is I headed a nonprofit organization called North Point Resources, sort of in the middle of my career between my service in Congress and coming back to the legislature. And we had 200 employees. We provided employment training kinds of services for people that were workplace injuries, those that were disabled, others that needed retraining. And we had 100 employees were from Wisconsin, 100 from Illinois. And when I took over as the head of this organization, we were self-insured. And our costs were going up 50%, 75% a year. So I brought in a consulting group to take a look, and they said, this is a disaster. They said, you have a loyal workforce, which is terrific, but we had an older workforce because they loved working, they were very dedicated. Our average age of our people were about 52, 53 years old. They said self-insurance is ideal for a tech firm. We've got 50 employees all under 30 that have very few claims. It's ideal. But when you have an older, more experienced workforce that is more vulnerable to having serious illnesses, that is the worst thing you can do. And the governor cherry-picked this one consulting group that told him he could save money. But Deloitte, who before he cherry-picked one, did a thorough study and found that not only may you not save the $60 million he's banking on to make his budget work, you could lose $100 billion. And so the problem is that if there's one word to describe this plan, the word is risky. It's very risky for the taxpayers. It's very risky for employees because, once a governor who has never been, a big fan of looking after working people has the dials, he can raise your deductibles, change your co-pays and everything else, much easier than you can under the current system. So I think it is a huge mistake. People are fighting assiduously against this. My advice is you should also call in. And the thing that's so sad is finally the governor put some more money in education, but in order for K-12 education to get more money under his budget, they have to realize the $60 million savings in self-insurance. Which, first of all, we're not sure it's going to pass. I hope it doesn't. But if it does, it could cost us $100 million. There goes any money for education. So I'm glad you brought it up. It's a serious issue. I think it would be a mistake. In the study that they did for Deloitte, they further confirmed what I told you about our group that I had, North Point Resources, and they said this is not ideal. for a workforce like we have, which is older, experienced, and dedicated, but unfortunately, are prone to having more claims.
Any other questions?
Is money available that we've not been getting?
I did not set up this question. Absolutely. It is outrageous that our governor is the only one of all of our surrounding states not to take the Badger Care expansion or Medicaid expansion, as it's more commonly thought of. You know what it costs us? It costs us about roughly $350 million every 2 years. Now think about that. That's money that you're paid out of your state taxpayer dollars. And it's interesting because when President Trump took the oath of office and they were certain they were going to, repeal and replace, Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, he said, "See what a great decision I made, because if I would have taken this money wouldn't be there anymore." Well, first of all, you're not required to continue the programming if the money isn't there. So it was a fallacy from day one. But the other thing is that there is a number of Republican senators who come from states, and 31 states took this Medicaid expansion money. They are not going to vote for anything unless it continues to have that Medicaid money in there. So it is just plain foolishness, in terms of financially for us to absorb this. But it's terrible for people who should be insured, who are not insured because of his failure to do this. And on top of it, in Kansas, where they just passed this, can you imagine a conservative state like Kansas, and they almost passed it with a veto-proof majority in the House and in their Senate, which is largely Republican, because they recognized what a mistake it was there. They found it would create up to 30,000 new jobs here. And we would get the same number of types of jobs here in Wisconsin. So from a jobs perspective, from a financial perspective, from a healthcare perspective, this, in my judgment, was one of the worst decisions amongst so many that Governor Walker has made over the course of the past 6 years. But it has cost us financially, it's hurt the health of people, and there's many people who do work in the healthcare industry had he at least done what every governor, Republican and Democrat, did around us, and accepted the Medicaid expansion. We're going to try on Tuesday. We'll have a provision, because we're bringing up a series of package of bills on the opioid abuse, which is a serious problem. But our argument's going to be, that's great. We're for virtually all these bills, and most of them were put together on a bipartisan basis, which is terrific. But if you really want to protect health care, you should take this money, because you need, primary health care to be provided to people. So we're going to try again this coming week to do an expansion of Badger Care, just like Kansas did. And incidentally, Nathan Deal, governor of Georgia, is now looking to do this. I think it's North and South Carolina. One of the Carolinas just like the Democratic governor. He's trying to push that through in his state as well. So there's already one of the distinct minorities, since 31 states have taken the Medicaid, but there's another 4 that are pushing actively to try to do this right now. Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
Anything else?
Any other questions that Ann might have set up? If not, thank you.